It's Big Board Sports with Roger Wyland on 104.5 The Team.
Knicks win last night over the Brooklyn Nets. Can't get too excited about it. It was Brooklyn. No Jeremy Lin. They're shorthanded. Lopez limited in his minutes. They're coming off it was a back-to-back for Brooklyn. But if they would have lost the Knicks, we'd be talking a whole new game here, and the fans would have been booing the Knicks off the court. So they did win a game that they should win, supposed to win last night. Steve Popper, our good friend from the Bergen Record, who covers the Knicks day in and day out, joins us for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Steve.
I can't believe what a downer you are. This is a huge win for the Knicks.
Yay, New York, baby. The Knicks are the real deal.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hate to put it on this, but I actually thought 7 games into the season, it pretty much was a must-win because there was a little chaos going on here. And with Boston and Toronto coming up back-to-back on the road, you know, if you lost this, you were looking at a possible 5-game losing streak. The Kurt Rambis stuff already. You know, there's a lot of problems for a new team that the players have been pretty open about questioning kind of the way things are happening there, which is a little different than in the earlier years of the Phil Jackson tenure.
And Steve, they brought a couple European players off the bench last night that made a big difference, huh?
Yeah, well, since camp, and actually really since the Olympics, when you see Hernan Gomez, this kid's a talented kid. He's raw. I'm not sure he knows what he's doing defensively yet, but he's a kid who I think, I don't want to say he's, Marc Gasol, but he has that kind of skill set offensively. Very good hands, very good touch around the rim. You've seen flashes of passing and stuff. I think him and Kuzminskis, who we need a nickname for, so I don't have to spell his name every time.
I was letting you pronounce the names. No, notice I said, hey, Steve, they bring a couple European kids off the bench.
Yeah.
Take it from there. A couple Euros. Have some fun with those names.
Yeah, look, every day I'm rooting for, Brandon Jennings to have a big game. I write about him instead. Derrick Rose, I can spell those ones.
Yeah. So, listen, is it as bad as it has been portrayed through the media? I mean, what are your early impressions here of this New York Knicks team, which, by the way, I think a lot of people going into the year feel like this should be a playoff team?
I thought all along borderline playoff team, if everything goes right. And look, with the Knicks, when does everything ever go right? The problem, I thought from the very start, was you're going to have issues. And look, not many of my predictions are correct, but I think on the best of days, you were going to have trouble with getting guys kind of acclimated and on board to playing together. You just can't throw together 10 new guys every year and think it's going to work. And when you add in this year that you have a new coach who's playing a system that isn't his system, so it's basically a coach learning the system, players learning the system, it's always trouble. And I think what you add in this year is you have a couple guys in Rose and Noah who come from winning programs, who have played for great coaches, who seen intensity be their trademark. Then you come here and there's a little confusion and guys don't seem to know what they're doing. I think very quickly Rose and Noah kind of looked around like, what is going on here? Where's Tom Thibodeau? And I don't blame Jeff Hornacek as much as I blame Phil Jackson. I think you're putting him in a spot where it's very tough. You had, you're one of the most important players, the point guard, basically missed the entire camp. So the simple thing is to let him run, push the ball, and run pick and roll, which is the simplest thing every player understands. Instead, they put him in the triangle at times, and he doesn't seem to know where to be, what to do. He's not comfortable with it. Courtney Lee brought up the point that I don't think any of us had thought of before, that the triangle offense, by sitting here trying to work on that in practice and scrimmage with it, they're defending against it, and no one else runs it. And then when they play a team, like Utah the other day, who runs the pick and roll so well, and will run it down your throat, doing the same thing every time, they didn't defend it well. They didn't communicate. So I think, look, the triangle remains the root of a lot of these problems. It's the dumbest thing because systems, any system works if you have good players and you run it long enough with good players. But you're teaching guys a more complex thinking thing that they just aren't accustomed to. There's not stars here who know how to run it. Everyone's better pick and roll players on this roster, I think. So I think when you saw yesterday, if you looked in the fourth quarter, there was a time where Brandon Jennings who doesn't run any system, was running pick and roll with Porzingis over and over again, and it worked every time. And it's that simple sometimes. You just play ball the way you know how to play it, and get guys in comfortable spots, and everything looks easier.
I mean, Steve, is this coach, and we're talking with Steve Popper, does a great job covering the New York Knicks with the Bergen Record. Is this coaching staff on the same page as the players, management?
I don't know. I think that Jeff knew what he was coming into here. NBA jobs are real tough to come by. When Phil Jackson offers you the job, it's a great job. If things are going well. I think he took this with eyes wide open, knowing what he's going to have to do, and thought it would be maybe a little easier than it is. I don't know if the players are on the same page with it. I think Jeff knew what he was getting into, and I think he's trying to put in hints of the triangle while also letting the players be free to run. Look, his team has ran a very good offense in Phoenix, but also he got run over a little bit in Phoenix by interference, outside interference from management. So I think he knows what he's in for here. I think he's just trying to navigate this early part and get some of the rough bumps out and get to a comfortable spot.
Steve, this is kind of a spin-off from the last question from Roger. We've heard kind of earlier in the season Derrick Rose say, "Hey, I'm more comfortable with the pick and roll that you were just referring to." We've heard Melo comment about how Kurt Rambis is now, running the defense. He said, "Well, it doesn't really matter if we're comfortable with it. It is what it is." We've heard Phil Jackson reports come out say he's kind of annoyed with the lack of the triangle being run. It just feels like, from an outsider's perspective, looking in, like this is a potential powder keg. Do you feel the same way if things go awry in New York?
I do, and that's the whole key, and I think Jeff knows it, that things have to go well soon, which is why I think the Nets win was a huge win to kind of take a little bit of burden off them. But look, you've got a situation here where there's pressure every day. There's no learning curve in New York, especially when you put together a team like Phil did, which kind of abandoned the whole idea of a slow rebuild and building with youth that he had. This is a team that's built to win this year. This was Phil Jackson looking at 49 wins over 2 years. His reputation kind of in tatters. He went for players, who are high risk. I mean, look at Joakim Noah right now and think of what that fourth year of that deal, third and fourth year, or second, third, and fourth year of that deal is going to look like. He's a guy who's aging very quickly. Derrick Rose has been very good, but he's a 1-year deal here, and then you've got to decide what you're going to do on him. This was a veteran win now decision that Phil made. I think that if it doesn't happen quickly, there's going to be criticism, there's going to be pressure, and I think more and more criticism is going to be leveled at Phil, who I thought all along, when he put this plan in place, it was, if it works, he gets to walk away into the sun saying, "Look, I got you guys on the right track." And if it doesn't work, there's a chance that James Dolan, who's by paying $15 million a year to Phil, avoided criticism, pulls the trigger on something with Phil and says, maybe your health isn't good, like we said, Donnie Walsh is well, it's time to retire. And there just happens to be a guy running the Liberty in the building already who Dolan loves. That I don't even want to utter the name because fans will start protesting, shift the protest from Trump Tower to MSG.
Steve,
Isaiah's always around.
Steve, Hahn and Humpty follow our show here, Big Board Sports on 104.5, the team, ESPN Radio here in Albany, and they got into a discussion yesterday, and it came up that would if things don't get turned around, would they change coaches? Would they fire Jeff Hornacek in his first year, so many games in?
I can't see it. I just can't see it happening. And here's the real reason I can't see it happening, because they went down that road already. Like the one guy here who's Phil's guy, who Phil would put in place, is the guy he just put in charge of the defense. But I think fans would go crazy if they popped him in as an interim coach again. I just don't think so. I think, first of all, I don't think it would be fair to Jeff.
No, it certainly would not be.
No, and I think Phil, despite the pressures here, look, he's not coaching, and I don't think they would put Kurt Rambis in place again. So I just don't see a guy there on the staff that they'd want to do that with, where you'd pull the trigger in season and do that. I think I think, he's got the season, and look, he just probably deserves more than the season because this is not his team being run the way he wants it. It's a cruel business, but that's the truth is, he's put in place here to run Phil's show for him, just like Derek Fisher did.
Steve Popper, Bergen Record, New York Knicks beat writer. We appreciate a few minutes here in Albany. And, hey, listen, it's a long season, Steve. Let's see how this thing plays out.
Don't remind me that it's a long season.
Thank you, Steve.
Anytime, guys. Bye.
Appreciate it.